Good morning, everyone. I want to begin by thanking you for taking the time to spend some time with me, just a few minutes with me today. I really appreciate it and I do not take it for granted. Today, our topic is around being present, being fully present, but from the position of how being fully present can help to lower our anxiety. I did not say it may not take all of your anxiety away, but it's definitely a great start in helping to lower it. Those of you who have read my book, for those of you who may know me, but particularly if you've read my book, you know that for a pretty long part of my life, I struggled with addiction. I think I first started using when I was maybe about 13 or 14, and I continued to use, and as time went on, in a very addictive manner until my early 30s. And when I say use, I was a garbage can. If it could change your mood, I was all in for it. I drank alcohol, I used drugs, and I frequently say the only drug at the time during my using period that I did not use was heroin, or heroin, as they say, because I'm afraid of needles. But needless to say, I thank God, I'm very, very grateful that that is no longer a part of my trajectory, that is no longer a part of my daily existence. And what does this have to do with our topic? Is because the way that I was able to achieve sobriety and to move away from that which had such a horrendous hold on my life. And when I say horrendous hold on my life, I would wake up thinking, like most good addicts and alcoholics, okay, what's today going to be? What do I have today that will, in my mind, I'm translating it now, will change my mood? What can I do today that will help to alter my reality? Now, was I able to use those words like that back then? No. All I knew was that I preferred to stay high most of the time. But again, eventually, after at least one failed attempt, I was able to become sober through a 12-step program. And in that 12-step program, one of the key tenets is that you recover one day at a time. And for me in early recovery, a day was too long because I literally could not imagine going all day long without taking something, without drinking something, without smoking something. I couldn't imagine it. And so what I decided, which was more helpful for me, is I began to take it 1 hour at a time. And when that began to become too difficult, I reduced it to 1 minute at a time. And what I would tell myself is, even though every ounce of my being was crying out for, I need something, this is really, I can't manage, I would say, okay, but today, right now, in this present moment, I'm not going to use. In this present moment, I'm not going to use. And eventually, that present moment became 5 minutes, and then it became 10 minutes, and then it became an hour, and then it became a number of hours, and then it became daily, and then it became weekly, and then it became monthly, and it went on and on and on. But it had to start somewhere. I think for me, one of the reasons why I had stayed so long in my active addiction is because, as I said earlier, I could not imagine dealing with this thing called life completely sober. I had not really had much experience doing it since I was, like I said, probably early teens, and everyone I knew was doing what I did. All my experiences were tied around it. So it was going to require a tremendous change that I could not fathom. But what I could understand is, in this present moment, I'm making the decision to stay present. In this moment, I'm going to do the next right thing, which for me at that time was not pick up. And what does that have to do with us doing the social distancing and social isolation? For many who struggle with increased anxiety, and I dare say most of us, because we're being isolated, our anxiety has raised exponentially, is that when we find our thoughts beginning to race, when we find our thoughts really becoming very fearful about what could happen or what's going to happen, or I can't take too much more of this, or this is driving me crazy. When we find our thoughts going in that area, we can try this small tool to say, but in this present moment, in this present moment, in this present moment, which is the only moment in time that I have any control over, because you have no control over what will happen, the future. You can make plans, you can put things in place, but ultimately you are completely out of control. You don't have control of what can happen because other forces can come in, but you do have control over this present moment. And in this present moment, even if my anxiety is racing off the charts, even if my anxiety is telling me this is never going to end, even if my anxiety tells me we're all going to die and the alien's going to come get us, and I'm sort of joking, but a friend of mine kind of talks about that on his Facebook feed, but I digress. Even as we go through all of those challenging thoughts, if we try to take one step to be present focused, the question then becomes, but what do I have control over in this present moment? Well, in this present moment, what I have control over is being able to, I may not be able to stop the thoughts, from occurring, but I do have control over how far I let those thoughts take me, how much time and energy I will give to entertain those thoughts. Tomorrow we will continue our conversation around being present and being mindful, because it's more than just a notion. I know that's what you were thinking. That's easier said than done. I know, and that's why we start with baby steps. One step at a time, one moment at a time, 1 second at a time. And with that, I want to say I love you all, and I look forward to our continuing to be in conversation, one step at a time on purpose. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.